Hello, everybody, and welcome to part two of the Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020 edition of the Bobby Hesley Show. I've had a long day. I've been very busy lately, guys. Days are starting to run together on me. So I actually said on the first broadcast that today was Wednesday, which is not. Today is Tuesday, and pretty controversial broadcast that I did earlier. And, for those of you who want to go back and watch it, I encourage you to do so. It was basically where I was talking about how Donald Trump was on probation, pending whether or not he actually decides to, sign this bill or not. I said he's on probation with me. Okay. I didn't say I'm quitting on him. I didn't say I no longer support Donald Trump. I just said that I'm watching and I'm waiting to see how Donald Trump is actually going to rule on this because he has presidential power. He has the power to veto. Now, there's a few things I want to clear up. There's some more data that has since come to mind that I want to clear up. And it's like I've always said on my show, guys, I'm always going to speak what I feel. My first allegiance is to Jesus Christ. That's who my main support goes to. Secondly, is to this country, the United States of America. Thirdly, are political candidates that are the lesser of two evils. Do I love President Donald Trump? Absolutely. And I walk the walk. Nobody that I know in my immediate circle loves and supports Trump more than I do. I've gone hard for Trump. You guys have seen what I've gone through for Trump over these last 6 months. When I was a stranded refugee in Thailand for 8 months, as soon as I got back in America, literally within days, I think the morning after I got back, I was doing walk and talks in support of President Trump. I mean, heck, I was doing videos supporting him over there. But as soon as I got back from Thailand, guys, I was on it. I rolled up my sleeves and I was on it right away, supporting Donald Trump. I was trolling Black Lives Matter protesters on 11 Mile and Woodward here in a city we have here called Royal Oak. I was working with Black Voices for Trump. I was rallying. I was campaigning. And I don't take any of that back. I'm glad I did all that. I don't regret any of that. And I'm going to say to President Trump what I've been saying to everybody since November 3rd. And that's, Mr. President, hold the line. I've been telling all my fellow Trump supporters to hold the line, to not give up, to not quit. And I still maintain that. We still need to hold the line. We got a very key date coming up on January 6th that I'm going to talk about. None of that has changed, guys, contrary to what you may think based on my last video. What's changed is win, lose, or draw. Even if President Donald Trump wins, and I'm still confident that he will, he's got a lot going for him that I will get into. But if he signs this bill, guys, I'm telling you, it's going to change the way I feel about him. I'm just being honest with you. Even if he still gets in there and he has a second term, well, I'd be glad Trump gets a second term instead of Joe Biden. Are you kidding me? Of course. All me and my hard work and all my fellow Trump supporters, all of our hard work is going to pay off. But I'm never going to see him the same way again, guys, if he signs his bill. I mean it. Watch my last video if you want the details on why that is. And there's a narrative going around that Trump is basically in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. I don't agree with that, guys. I don't believe that. So what people are saying is if Trump signs the bill, it's going to put him in a bad light with his supporters, which it will. It will with me, at least. I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but it's definitely going to put him in a bad light with me, and it's going to change the way I feel about him. It will, okay? And there's millions of us who feel the same way because we're not going to be sold out to foreign countries. We're losing our homes. We're losing our businesses. We got to wear these face thongs everywhere we go. Everything is shut down. We have no say in anything. And in the middle of all of this, we're going to whore out $700 billion to all these foreign countries, many of which don't have our best interests in mind. We're going to pay $10 million to mutilate children over in Pakistan, to promote the T word over there. You guys know what I mean. And we're doing all that while our economy is crippled and on its knees. There's no way I will ever support that. And the president shouldn't either. But there's this narrative going around that he's stuck in a rock and a hard place, that if he signs the bill, if he goes along with it, it's going to cause fallout with his supporters. And then the other side of the equation says that if he doesn't sign it, if he vetoes it, that it's going to make him look like a horrible president and we're going to lose these Georgia runoff elections. And he's basically going to go out as a lame duck president, and it's going to hurt any chance that he has left of salvaging this presidency, and that he'll have to leave on January 20th no matter what. I don't believe either scenario is true. Number one, because this bill was designed in such a way to where it is veto proof. Even if Donald Trump vetoes it, even if he uses the power of his presidential pen, as of the recording of this video, there have been 92 votes on it. We have Democrats who are voting against this bill, and we have 6 Republicans who are against this bill. And I'm going to play a video clip of one of them. So there's even Democrats that are voting against this bill, maybe for different reasons. But the fact is, there's bipartisan opposition to this bill, just not enough opposition for it to mean anything. But the fact is, Trump needs to be symbolic. He needs to use that pen that he has. He needs to use his presidential pen that he has. And even though his veto will be ineffective, he needs to use that pen to veto this bill to show solidarity with his supporters and to show solidarity with this country. He cannot sign on to this. And I hope that all the negotiating skills that he has done, I'm seeing that he just tweeted about the bill. Is that so? Let's see. I'm hoping with all the negotiating skills that President Trump has learned over his life that got him to where he is, that made him into the blue-collar billionaire that he is, that I hope he at least negotiates with Congress and says, listen, we can give a stimulus to our American families. We can do that. But the fact is, we're not going to give away $700 billion to all these foreign countries while we're in the middle of this pandemic. We're just not going to do that. So apparently President Trump has tweeted about the bill. So before I finish this broadcast, I'm just going to go ahead and go live, and I'm going to see what the president is saying. So just give me a second here, guys. I'm going to share my screen.
Throughout the summer, Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation in an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID relief bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt.
He's going to strike it down, guys. I can feel it.
Which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military.
Come on, Mr. President. Don't go for it.
$25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan. $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala.
He's getting it.
Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business. $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million.
Oh, I love it. Come on, Trump. Come on.
Jack fish in the Gulf of Mexico. A provision to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries. $3 million in poultry production technology. $2 million to research the impact of down trees. $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each This is far
Yes,
more
Mr. President.
than the Americans.
Guys, this is what I love about this president. He is educating us about what's in this bill. This is what people need to hear.
Given. Despite all of this wasteful spending and much more, the $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition. Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not theirs.
Amen.
I am
Preach it,
asking
Mr.
Congress
President.
to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
Boom and boom. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Oh, I feel like I dodged a bullet. Thank you for holding the line, Mr. President, because I was this close, and I mean it, man. I'm telling you guys, listen, I'm not going to be fake and sell false hope and pretend just to maintain a following. If Trump would have signed this bill, that would have been a dagger in my heart, man. I'm telling you. It would have been a dagger in the heart of millions of his supporters who have endured abuse from our liberal governors, like we're doing here in Michigan, who have endured literal physical abuse from Black Lives Matter and Antifa, that have been assaulted, had our neighborhoods destroyed, had businesses destroyed. Some Trump supporters were even killed in shootouts with Antifa and Black Lives Matter type people. This country has gone through a lot, guys, and we have gone through a lot for our president. And listen, our president has gone through a lot for us. We have. We're in this together. So I'm really glad that he did the right thing. I really, really am. Oh, I feel like I'm a million pounds lighter, guys. Now I know how Abraham felt, right? When he was about to, plunge the knife in, then the angel said, oh, hold on. Because I stick by what I said earlier, guys. I wasn't playing. Listen, guys, I go where the truth is. Okay? Back in 2016, I actually didn't vote for Donald Trump, at least not in the primaries. I voted for Ted Cruz. I actually wrote an entire article, if you guys want to see, on the American Thinker, which I've made, many articles with American Thinker. I actually wrote this entire article on American Thinker against Donald Trump. Because at the time, I didn't believe him. I thought he was too good to be true. I didn't trust him. He hadn't earned my trust yet. I don't just lay down and just, whore out my trust to politicians that talk a good game. I voted for Ted Cruz in the 2006 primaries, guys. And not only did I vote against Donald Trump in the 2016 primaries, but I published an article in the American Thinker against Donald Trump. I'll even link it in the comments if you guys want to hear. Boom, I just linked it in the comments. You guys ever want to go back and read it? So I've this is not the first time I've publicly spoke out against Donald Trump. You guys got to realize, it's like I said, my allegiance comes first to Jesus. Jesus first, America second, Trump third. In that order, guys. And thankfully, President Trump agrees with that. Thankfully, President Trump, it's in that order as well. Because we have to hold the line, guys. It's not time for us to quit. Now, keep in mind that this bill was structured in such a way that as of the time of this recording, it is veto proof. So even if Donald Trump vetoes it, it's still probably going to pass. It's still probably going to go through, but at least he took a stand and at least he used the most powerful weapon that he has, which is the power of the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword. So at least our president has signaled a willingness to use that pen and vote against it. And if it goes through, okay, it goes through. I won't like it, but at least I'm not going to feel sold out by my commander in chief, who I've fought and worked hard for, and who you have guys have fought and worked hard for. So I want to parse apart this video that Rand Paul did. And this is all the more reason why President Trump needs to veto this vote, because it's veto proof. It's going to make him look even worse if he does end up not vetoing it. It really will. And thankfully, he's not. He's going to use some of that negotiating power, send it back to Congress. Listen, just get rid of the foreign aid. If we need to provide immediate relief for businesses, okay, double it from 200 billion to 400 billion for businesses. Give it a $1,200 stimulus check if we have to. I mean, it's still socialism, but if it's the best we can do right now to provide immediate food and pay bills for people immediately, so be it. But don't freaking do it to all these foreign countries. Not right now. I'm not advocating isolationism, but at this point in time, we have to. Let me show you what the lunacy is of this $700 billion of pork, this foreign pork that's in this bill. Imagine if there's a family of, let's say there's a guy who's got 5 kids. Okay. No, let's double it. Let's make it a more dramatic example. Let's say that there's a father of 10 kids and his family is starving right now. Okay. And let's say, for example, somebody comes along, let's say Salvation Army or St. Vincent de Paul or whatever organization is in the business of helping people that have come up on hard times. And they say, we know you have 10 kids. We know that you're a family of 12. We got you, your wife, and your 10 kids. We can only feed 3 of these kids. Okay. We can only feed 3 of these kids. Well, let's round it down. Let's say he's got 9 kids because 900 billion, right? That's the size of the stimulus. So let's say, we know you have 9 kids, but we can only feed 2 of these kids. The other 7 are going to have to go hungry. You know why? Because we're going to support all these adults. We're going to support everybody else instead of your kids. Even though this is your money, even though it should be allocated solely to you guys, you're not going to get all of it because we're going to support all these other people over here that may or may not even need it. Some of these countries like Burma, I actually went to Burma recently this year, guys. When I was in Thailand, the way their visas work is after 60 days, you have to cross the border and come back in order to have your visa renewed. So I actually went to the Burma border. I heard somebody say that you could buy that country for $5. Why are we giving them $85 million? Guys, I lived like a king when I was in Thailand. You know how cheap it is to live over there? Why are we giving $85 million? That's the equivalent of like trillions of dollars to them. We need that money. We're hungry. We're starving. So that was kind of an analogy. So America first, guys. That's right. America first. And thank God President Trump is sticking to his word. So let me parse this video by Senator Rand Paul. Let's get into this. This is going to be one of my longer broadcasts, guys, because, I have been busy lately. So me doing 2 podcasts in one day is a big deal because I have been very busy. So let me get this video going here. I love Senator Rand Paul, guys. He's one of the original Tea Party senators that was elected back in 2010. So let's go ahead and play this video.
Senator from Kentucky.
Republicans like to mock modern monetary theory. The idea that government can print money with impunity, that government can spend whatever it wants without the need to tax. Modern monetary theory is basically the Dick Cheney deficits don't matter crowd, trussed up with a new fancy title. Most Republicans rightly lampoon this quackery, that is, when they're not practicing the quackery themselves. Today, many of these same Republicans will vote for a bill that makes modern monetary theory look like child's play in comparison. The monster spending bill presented today is not just a deficits don't matter disaster, it is everything Republicans say they don't believe in. This bill is free money for everyone. Proponents don't care if you're fully employed or own your own house or own your own business. Free money for everyone, they cry. And yet, if free money were the answer, if money really grew on trees, why not give more free money? Why not give it out all the time? Why stop at $600 a person? Why not $1,000? Why not $2,000? Maybe these new free money Republicans should join the Everybody Gets a Guaranteed Income caucus. Why not $20,000 a year for everybody? Why not $30,000? If we can print up money with impunity, why not do it? The Treasury can just keep printing the money. That is, until someone points out that the emperor has no clothes.
This is another really important point that was made by Senator Paul, guys. Like I said, if the immediate thing that we need to do is to provide $2,000 per American, so be it. Listen, if that feeds families, so be it. But just keep this in mind, guys. This is another thing that I stick behind that I said in that last video. Every time we keep printing this monopoly money that has not been backed by gold since Nixon, a Republican, took the dollar off the gold standard back in 1970, we have had runaway inflation ever since. And every time the Fed prints all this money, all this monopoly money, it weakens the value of the dollar, guys. It takes away our purchasing power. Purchasing power is a very important thing to think about when it comes to economics. We see all these Americans who are up in arms over gas prices going up a nickel or a dime or a quarter. And don't get me wrong, I hate high gas prices just like the next guy. But when's the last time you heard an American complain about inflation, huh? When is the last time you heard Americans complain about the fact that the $10 that they spent back in 1990 can get the same thing that it would take $2 to get today? Or actually the reverse. The $2 that they spent back in 1990 would take $10 to get the same thing that they would get today. Okay, I'm from Detroit. I'm from Brightmoor. Back when I was a kid, I used to you can get a bag of flaming hot chips, right? We used to have these chips in the hood. Anybody from Detroit knows what I'm talking about. We used to have these chips in the D called Better Made chips, Better Made hot chips. Oh, I used to love me some Better Made hot chips. I still do. Guys, back when I was a kid, I could spend a quarter and get what are called grab bags. I can get a bag of flaming hot chips this big, and it would be filled with chips. Today, that same bag costs $1.49, and it's only quarter filled with chips. All the rest of it is air. That's inflation, guys, both literally and figuratively. A bag of chips is inflated literally because it's filled with air and like 12 chips, and all the rest of the bag is air. And that's kind of false advertising because they make these bags look like they're fat and heavy when really all it is just air. And it's inflated figuratively too, because now I got to spend $1.49 to get the same kind of chips I used to get for a quarter when I was a kid. Literal and figurative inflation. So I'm glad that our president is wanting to help out all these families that are hurting. But just know, guys, that is hastening the end of the U.S. dollar. Ever since the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, after the end of World War II, the U.S. dollar has been the top currency in the world. It's been the world standard for all the other currencies in the world. We are hastening towards the end of the U.S. dollar, guys. We are getting to a point with all this inflation that we've done, and it's Democrats and Republicans that are to blame for it. George W. Bush blew up the deficit. Barack Obama blew up the deficit. And I hate to say it, but Trump is in a position right now to where he's kind of has no choice but to blow up the deficit with all these COVID stimulus packages. But at least he's negotiating now. At least he was able to talk me off the ledge. Your man, Bobby Hesley, was standing on the ledge a few hours ago, ready to pull all of his support for Trump over this thing. So thankfully, he talked me off that ledge. And deep down, I knew he would. I was hoping he would. But I just wanted to say publicly that that's what would have happened had he signed this thing. And I'm speaking for a lot of other people that felt that way. All right, let's get back into this to listen to the brilliance of Senator Paul.
And that the dollar no longer has value. To so-called conservatives who are quick to identify the socialism of Democrats, if you vote for this spending monstrosity, you are no better. When you vote to pass out free money, you lose your soul and you abandon forever any semblance of moral or fiscal integrity. So the next time you see Republicans in high moral dudgeon claiming and complaining about spending of Democrats and socialism, remind them if they supported this monstrous bill that really the difference between the parties is less Adam Smith versus Marx and more Marx versus Engels. How bad is our fiscal situation? Well, the federal government brought in $3.3 trillion last year and spent $6.6 trillion. The deficit last year, a record-busting $3.3 trillion. If you're looking for more COVID bailout money, we don't have any. The coffers are bare.
Can't argue with anything he's saying, guys.
We have no savings account. Congress has spent all the money long ago. The economic damage from this pandemic is not the reason for this runaway spending. This spending's been going on for decades. Every year, even before we get to all the extra COVID-free money, we've been spending $1 trillion we don't have. Today's money is gone. So Congress is spending tomorrow's money. The spending chart is a red line of red ink that goes on forever.
So at the risk of boring you guys to death, I'll link to this video so you can watch the rest of it. So that's where I stand, guys. I'm against printing monopoly money. If it's a necessary evil we have to do, okay, what choice do we have? But Trump is in a situation to where, like I said, all he can do is symbolically veto it, because that's literally all it would be. This thing is going to get rammed through whether we like it or not, guys. But I'm glad that our president is standing up for us. I'm glad he's standing up for the country. And I'm also glad that he's standing up for the U.S. dollar. We need a strong dollar. And every time this monopoly money gets printed like this, it weakens the dollar, guys. Inflation is the largest tax. Inflation is the largest transfer of wealth that's perpetuated upon Americans. Like, oftentimes we think of having our wealth confiscated us through the tax system. We think of the IRS. We think April 15th. We think, oh, man, they're screwing me out of all this hard-earned money. I have to send this big old check to the IRS. And that's true. I mean, who gets used to paying taxes, right? I don't think that's something I'll ever get used to. But there's a way that you guys are taxed, that we are taxed in a way that's invisible, and it's called inflation. When the value of the dollar goes down, when we lose purchasing power, and it's simple economics, guys, the more of a product there is, the less valuable it is. It's just simple supply and demand. Look at the real estate market right now. Why are housing prices so parabolic? Why is it so expensive to buy a house? Why is it so, hard for investors like me to find deals right now? Because everything is overpriced because we have low inventory because of COVID. So the less you have of something, the more valuable it is. The more you have of something, the less value it is. So every time we flood the world with all this fake monopoly money that's printed up at the printing press from the mint of the Federal Reserve, that lessens the value of the dollar because there's more of it, which means your income is taking a hit. The money that you bring home from your job, from your paycheck, from your business, your investments, whatever source of income you have to make more money in order to buy the same things that you were able to buy 5, 10, 20 years ago. That's a form of taxes. If I lose 20 grand to the IRS, I got to figure out a way to make that 20 grand back, right? Well, if your dollar loses value to inflation because of all these monopoly runs we keep going on, printing all this blue, green, yellow, blue fake money, that means you have to go out and work harder. You got to work more jobs. You got to work longer hours. You got to raise prices. You got to do whatever you can to keep the value of your money treading water. It's fighting taxes, guys. That's the same way. It's like you're fighting against a tax, except it's an invisible tax. And I'll do a whole show on inflation. So thank you, Mr. President, for doing the right thing. I stand behind everything I said earlier. Hold the line, President Trump. Us supporters, we're still in the tank for you. Thank you for supporting us. And let's see where this goes, guys. Moving forward, because of everything that I have going on, I have to honor God with some of the opportunities that he's putting in my life right now. I have to take advantage of certain things. I can't throw it away by doing content like every day, like I have been lately. So my shows are going to come less and less, but the quality is going to be much higher, right? They're going to be longer shows. I'm going to take the quality over quantity approach. I may not be able to make videos every single day like I've been doing, but the few times a week that I do it, guys, you're going to be really glad that you're following me, because you're going to get a lot of education. You're going to get a lot of value. You're going to get a lot of information, and you're still going to get hope and inspiration. Even on things like I did earlier today, when I stated what my intentions were, if Trump threw me under the bus, I was going to throw him under the bus if he was going to throw me under the bus. And I stand by that. But thankfully he didn't, and I'm glad he didn't. So please, guys, like this video, comment on this video, share it. Let me see the number one if you're proud of our commander-in-chief for holding the line and not letting these evil Democrats and these evil Republicrats try to hold him over a barrel and put him in between a rock and a hard place. Let me see a 1 if you're proud of our commander-in-chief. Let me see the number 1 if you're still supporting number 45. Let me see the number 1 if you feel 1,000,000 pounds lighter, if you feel like you just dodged a bullet. Because, guys, if Trump would have signed this, there's those ones. There they are. Because if Trump would have signed this thing, guys, be honest with me, guys. Come on. Let's have an open and honest discussion. As much as you love Donald Trump, as hard as you've rallied for him, all the friends you've lost over him, all the arguments you've gotten into on social media, all the cold you stood out in at his rallies, all the apparel, all the donations, everything you've done for President Trump. I want to let's be family here for a second. I want everybody to be honest, because I was honest earlier. So I want you guys to be honest too. How would you guys have felt towards President Trump if he would have signed this thing without either vetoing it, sending it back to Congress like he just did, or at least trying to negotiate to trim some of the pork out? All this overseas spending and all this stuff that he was talking about. Be honest, guys. Let's post some comments. How would you guys have felt if Donald Trump would have just laid down and signed this thing, in spite of how hard we fought and supported him? You wouldn't have liked it, would you? You wouldn't have liked it. Not happy. I agree with you, Lois. I wouldn't have been happy either. I would not have been happy either. Like he threw us under the bus. I agree, Bernadette. I would have felt that way as well. Tammy, I would have felt like he didn't put America first. That's how I would have felt. We're being honest, guys. We're having an honest conversation here. Roseanne, very let down. Alice would not have liked it at all. Robert, upset. Wow, look at this one. Lori, I would never vote again. Wow. You see that, guys? I'm not the only one who felt the way I felt earlier. I'm not the only one who felt that way. Bill would have been pissed. Un-American, yes. Betrayed. Now, I'm not trying to have a negativity party, guys. Would have been thinking maybe I've been wrong the last few months. I kind of felt that way too. Okay. So we're on the same page, guys. We're on the same page. I'm sure I lost some subs and some followers. I had some pretty nasty comments from people that were, Trump supporters. People I thought loved me. People I still love. Really nasty comments. But I'm used to that. That's what you sign up for when you put your name and your face out there like I'm doing. And that goes both ways, guys. Just like I'm honest about Joe Biden, I'm honest about Kamala Harris, I'm honest about Democrats, I'm honest about Trump and about Republicans too, guys. That's why. See, it's kind of like this, guys. I can't have it both ways. I can't always knock Democrats. For example, one of my critiques of the black community, and I love my people. I love black people. I don't care how much they think I hate them, right? I love black people. But one of my critiques of the black community is that they give these politicians passes for everything they do to them. For example, look at everything Joe Biden has done to black people, both verbally and legislatively. And boy, do I got some stuff on him and Kamala I'm going to be doing some shows on in the coming days and weeks. I'm not done with Biden yet either, guys. I'm an equal opportunity critic. Okay? But think about the pass that black voters have given Biden. Think of the pass that black voters have given Democrats. If you scroll down a few posts ago on my wall, guys, you'll see a long post I made about Joe Biden. And I was trying to start a conversation with my fellow black voters who voted for Biden. In spite of his "you ain't black" comments, in spite of his legislative record of targeting black drug addicts with his 94 crime bill, in spite of Kamala Harris locking up thousands of black men for nonviolent first-time drug offenses with harsh prison sentences, and yet not a word of criticism from anybody in the black community towards Biden and Harris. So if I'm going to criticize black people about that, for giving passes to the leaders that they support, then I have to be willing to criticize my leaders who I vote for. And if that's Donald Trump, it's Donald Trump. And I stand behind that. And who knows? He might cave and he might not veto this thing. And if that ends up happening, well, guess what? Everything I said in that first video, it's going to suck, but it's going to come true. And I'm going to have something to say about it if he does. But thankfully, he didn't. So he has my support. And again, guys, these are two separate issues. There's the 2020 election over here. There's this veto bill over here. You got to keep those two issues separate. Okay? So please like and comment and share this video, guys. Share it with everybody you know. Share my other one that I did earlier. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is what I'm trying to grow right now. And like I said, you may not see me every day like you've been, but you'll see me several times a week. And when I do it, it's going to be really powerful. They're going to be a little bit longer. And I'm also in the process of starting my own little community because there's going to be things that I'm going to discuss that I would probably get deplatformed if I do it on the mainstreams, like on YouTube or on Facebook. I'm in the process of setting up my own community where if you guys want to really get into the meat, into the heart of things, you can become a member. And we're going to talk about some things. So I will be rolling that out in the coming weeks as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Like and share this video, comment on it, subscribe to all my channels, and I will see you guys on the next broadcast. God bless.